We'd like to start off by welcome everybody here in attendance. It's good to see everybody here today. This is Intecrowd's webinar presentation for the Workday Learning QuickStart. We have Kristin Prokopakis and Gary Walker as our panelists today. As we begin, I'd like to point a few things out. This webinar will be recorded and will be made available on our website shortly after. We will also be sending this presentation out to all those in attendance, so if you would like to review it, you will have the ability to do so. As far as questions go, we will not be taking questions during the presentation. We have, however, set some time aside towards the end for Kristin and Gary to review the questions and to go over them. So as questions come up, we ask that you please use the Q&A functionality down there at the bottom for any questions that you might have. So for those that just joined, we are recording and we would like to welcome you. I will now turn the time over to you, Kristin. Kristin, mic check.
All right, thank you, Perry. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, you're good to go.
All right, thank you, Perry. So as Perry said, thank you everyone for taking the time out of your day to join us for our Workday Learning QuickStart webinar. Excited to have you all here with us. As we get going, the first thing we're gonna jump into are some quick introductions. So we will go ahead and introduce ourselves to the group. Then we'll jump into an overview of the Workday Learning QuickStart, some value propositions and use cases, what's all included with the QuickStart, a quick demonstration of what our learners will be seeing when they are logged into the system after we deploy the QuickStart. And then we'll talk about some support options for moving forward. And then, as Perry mentioned, we will take some time to do the Q&A. So I'm Kristin Prokopakis. I've been with Intecrowd for 3 years. I am a Workday product lead within Learning and Extended Enterprise. I have led multiple learning engagements, including the first customer on AWS to deploy Workday Learning. And I've also deployed Extended Enterprise for an early adopter, so was one of the first clients to jump on Extended Enterprise. Some of these customers include Puma, Twitch, Univision, as well as others. Now I'll turn it over to Gary for his introduction.
Thanks, Kristin. I'm Gary Walker. I'm Intecrowd's Chief Operating Officer. For those of you who do not know Intecrowd, we've been a partner for 5 years. We're a services partner. We have over 150 employees. We are located in 22 states. We're a 100% virtual company and in 6 different countries. We have about 25 folks in India in our offshore development center, and we've served on over 500 projects for 300 different clients over the last 5 years. So we'll spend a little time today talking about the Workday Learning QuickStart. So enough about Kristin and I, we'll jump right into it. So there are 2 reasons that we concocted this offering. The first is we're well aware that there are a lot of Workday customers who have learning that is as of yet undeployed. And one of the interesting things about learning is it's one of the easier SKUs to get off the shelf. It is a piece of functionality that provides significant value and does not require a significant investment to get deployed. So those who have it on the shelf and are not using it yet have a tremendous opportunity to gain more value from Workday without a tremendous amount of work. The second reason that we concocted this offering is that COVID has changed the face of the workforce. There are a lot of folks who have no choice but to work remotely. And that in and of itself is a skill. And to work remotely and be productive, for those of you that have worked remotely before, you know it takes some time to get used to being productive remotely. And some of the key aspects of being productive remotely are being able to fill your time with value-added activities. In this particular environment, getting productive, being able to learn new skills, being able to get support from colleagues on existing skills, learning new ways of working, like how to work remotely, or new policies and procedures, such as COVID sick leave policies, how you're going to go to market with customers in a different way in this environment. There are lots of things that you can learn, and if you can get those things to your workforce quickly, they will be more productive. Additionally, if standard productivity is reduced, if salespeople can't sell as much, but they can take sales training in their off time or in their downtime in order to be able to sell more of something different, then there are a number of ways that Workday Learning can help you enhance productivity in this particular environment. So if you have a solution on your shelf that you have yet to deploy, and you can get it up and running in a matter of days, it'll not only help you now, but help you in the future. I alluded to some elements of the value proposition, but really in the scheme of Workday functionality, where you have core Workday as your HCM system of record, learning can layer on top of that for a number of productivity purposes. The first of which is around alignment. If you have a remote workforce and you need to get them aligned on how to work remotely, new policies and procedures for approaching clients or interacting with each other during this particular time, anything related to COVID that you want to put out to everybody and know that they got it and viewed it. There are a lot of things that you can do to align your workforce using Workday Learning. If your employees, like I said earlier, have some downtime, we can give you a way to give them additional training to make them more versatile when you do return to normal, whatever normal looks like. So they become more valuable as opposed to looking for something to do or spinning their wheels. In terms of enabling productivity, if you have a sales force that is selling new things, perhaps you have COVID-19 related offerings, you're putting out information. We did a lot of COVID-19 related information and changed some of our offerings. We got our workforce remotely up to speed on those. When you return to normal, things may be different. We've talked with a number of retail, hospitality, and other sectors where they have hourly employees where they've had to spin down. When they spin back up and return to normal, there are things that are going to be different for them. One, they may be bringing in new employees that have to get trained extremely fast because some of the employees that they furloughed or downsized are no longer available. So they've got to get people up to speed on how to help them quickly. If they can do that before they put their feet on the ground on day one, that's really important. In some industries, airline industries, hospitality industry, there are new procedures such as cleaning procedures and procedures for dealing with customers and legal procedures related to the return to normal in a phased approach. You can help your employees understand what they're going to be required to do and get them ready so that on day one they're ready to go. There may be a constriction in your employee base. That employee who knows a lot becomes particularly important. If that employee can use peer-to-peer knowledge sharing, can quickly create content and publish it out to other employees that help them get productive, that's a great use. And being able to track all of this is really a built-in value proposition for Workday Learning. Knowing that people got those skills, knowing what they did, and essentially, while not overseeing them, monitoring their progress, that provides remote employees with a way to be monitored. We're a completely remote workforce, and we see what people do through all of our systems. This is a way to see your folks maintaining, enhancing their productivity, and getting ready to continue to add value in your enterprise. And then you start to leverage your investment in the power of one. If you start very quickly using Workday Learning, then you can start to expand your footprint as you return to normal. You may add new audiences, you may add new topics, and things that are going to add even more value. So this is a quick start, not a quick finish. And Kristin's going to talk about what's included.
All right, so thank you, Gary. So now that we have an overview of what the Workday Learning QuickStart is, and then also some value propositions, now we're going to talk about what is included in the Workday Learning QuickStart. Well, it prepares you to rapidly deliver learning to a broad audience. In this case, when we talk about a broad audience, we are talking about all employees, all learners seeing those courses that Gary discussed previously, such as sales training, new offerings for COVID-19, or course on working remotely. What this also includes with minimal configuration. As part of that minimal configuration, that is also minimal security. And the security that we'll discuss was part of the Learning QuickStart is having the learning admins with limited number of admins, and then, like I said, all employees, so all courses are visible to a population. Your broad population, this does not include the smaller populations or sending content out to only specific groups, but it does allow you to get up and running, presenting that content, and be self-sufficient after going live with the Learning QuickStart. So some of the configuration includes basic setup. That basic setup does include the domains, business processes within Workday Learning, as well as the security roles, as I mentioned, learning admin and learners. These are the only two security groups that come as part of the Learning QuickStart. So this does not encompass all Workday Learning delivered security groups, only the two listed here, and also does not include any custom security. It does come with loading 3 e-learning digital courses. As we think about these e-learning digital courses, Gary and I have both mentioned some of the use cases about what types of courses are great to get up and running as part of the QuickStart. So it could be that sales training that we discussed, returning to work. Those are the pieces that we would be loading for you. So up to 3 of those. And then basic training, which includes the knowledge transfer for learning administrators. As part of that, that knowledge transfer is teaching you not only how to control the system as a learning administrator and go moving forward to update any of the configuration needed and adding new content, but also how do you support your end users? So when our learners jump into the system, how do we support them from that administrative role? We will provide some knowledge transfer for that. And then also make sure that you are comfortable with not only controlling the system, but creating that content, loading those courses up, and having a fine line of how to move forward in that process. Okay, so now looking at the slide here, what we're looking at is what would our learners see when they jump into the system on day 1 after we deploy the QuickStart. Our learner would log into Workday Learning, or they would log into Workday, apologies there, and on their home screen, they would see a new dashboard. It would be the learning dashboard. When our learner clicks into the learning dashboard, they'll then see the recently added. So as you see here, if the 3 courses we provided on day 1 are the sales training, new offerings for COVID-19, and working remotely, our learners would see those and be able to take those courses and consume that content right here off the main page of their learning dashboard. It also will show us the ratings on the courses. If we turn that on, how many people are rating the courses, how the content is. And then what we also see as the menu is our learners have the opportunity to browse for learning differently than just seeing what's on there recently added. A learner can use this Browse Learning. When they click into Browse Learning, they will be brought to the Browse Learning content report. This is a great way for them to search for content. They can see content here by searching in the search bar, or they can use the facets on the left-hand side of that report to go ahead and look for the specific content they are looking for. Okay, so now we have the Learning QuickStart up and running, and you are going and you have the 3 courses that your broader population is consuming. We want to talk about some now support offerings that Intecrowd offers. If you need or want this additional support, we provide a few different offerings that are cost effective. So I'll walk through some of those. So pay-as-you-go support. So after you're up and running on the Learning QuickStart and you want just some advice, or you're looking at turning on some of the new features, whether these new features are new to the release, Workday release, or they're just new features to you as a client, since you've gone live and you're ready to start turning on that additional functionality, you can use our pay-as-you-go support model where you can contact Intecrowd and we can help you do this yourself and provide that advice, expertise, and best practices. The second option we have here is the learning roadmap development. This is a way to do that logical progression and from broad to targeted use cases. So some of that we want to talk about here is, say we go live with your learning QuickStart and we want to just kind of plan out what is going to happen over the next 3 to 6 months or 6 months to a year. We can talk about turning on campaigns that have not been turned on yet, additional security. So we went live with a very limited learning administrators. Maybe we want to broaden our security. Those opportunities are here, or we have a use case of turning on additional security, creating custom security. So maybe we have learning admins, but now we want to go ahead and have subsets of our learning admins who have a lot of power, but maybe not everything tenant wide. That could be part of the roadmap, and we would be there to support you, help you plan, and help you do this yourself and roll it out as it makes sense for you. And then scope limited AMS, so defined roadmap components. So this is the other thing, a discrete chunk of value that would become based on your needs, that Intecrowd can be there for you, support you. We could have Intecrowd can support you by putting this content into the system, walking through testing with you, or again, just helping you really concentrate on what's important to you or the next thing you need to roll out and supporting you as you deploy that to your larger workforce.
Okay, so I'm going to sum up here quickly before we take questions. So we tried to go fast. It is a very finite offering. As I said, it is a quick start, not a quick finish. So Kristin described the way that you can get up and running quickly, start getting value. And we believe that once you start getting value, you will see the possibilities to broaden this out. And the beautiful thing about Workday Learning is this is something that as you move forward, you can select different parts, different pieces of functionality and turn it on in a stepwise fashion. And there's no need for a big bang. You can get value as you can digest it and as you can consume it and as you can afford it or have the resources. So the benefits of learning, we think for a remote workforce, obviously to access training more easily remotely, to collaborate and share knowledge using peer-to-peer learning, to develop new skills, to get your workforce skilled up. So if their downtime provides additional time, you don't want them just sitting. You don't want them to get bored. You want them to become more valuable, and you want them to become more valuable in ways that are meaningful to your company. And then you can track and monitor the value that they are generating for themselves. And if you need them to get up to speed to return to the new normal and prepare for recovery, then you'll see that they have done the things that they need to do. They have passed the course that they need to pass or taken the course that they need to consume. And you'll see that they are ready to add the value. So as you go back into whatever the new normal looks like, you'll be convinced that either your returning workforce knows the new policies and procedures, your new employees can get up to speed very rapidly on those new policies and procedures. And if they need to do that remotely, then they don't have to go sit in an office and take an unnecessary risk as you deem it appropriate as they return to work. They may literally be able to work remotely to get trained and then show up when it's appropriate. And then you can deliver content that was easily created. So the value of learning is just getting the learning out there and starting to use it. And I think this is a very appropriate time for that. So that kind of sums up the Workday Learning QuickStart. And I'll say again, my two components of the value proposition are, if you have Workday functionality and you're not using it, you're really missing out on the creation of value. And the environment really kind of demands some of this value. And this is a piece of Workday that you can really generate value from very quickly. So that kind of sums up the presentation. We appreciate the attention that you've paid. Kristin has done this for 3 years now. She loves learning. She's got a master's in teaching. And you can see from her online resume that we presented. She's done it with very large retail corporations, smaller startup, large television and media networks. So she's had a lot of questions. So if you have questions, she's going to be the one to answer them with her expertise. And then I'll try to keep up with her. But we'll take questions now. Perry, do we have any?
Yeah, we do have a couple questions here. The first being, when you talk about remotely, can info be pushed to personal email addresses or mobile rather than just to work?
Yeah, so I will address that question. That is a great question. And so when we talk about Workday Learning is available on mobile. So as we set up Workday Learning in the QuickStart, you can turn on that it is on mobile, and then also the notifications, it can be pushed to email. So you can have it going to email as well as push notifications. That's a great way if you're trying to leverage the mobile and get people's attention quickly. Is the mobile push notifications actually sends the notification directly to the user's phone, and then they can go ahead and see what new content or something they've been enrolled in through that.
Can it be to personal email rather than the work email address?
So it's going to go based on the way we have it set up. So if our notifications are set up on the work email, it will go to work email, but we could look into going ahead and turning that into the personal email, but it's going to be the tenant-wide settings based on how we have notifications set up.
Awesome. Okay. We'd like to remind you, if you do have a question, to use the Q&A functionality down there at the bottom. We do have a couple more. You mentioned loading e-learning content. I assume those are existing courses we provide, correct?
I'll take that, yes. So these are existing courses. We don't bring a library with us. So for your business, most people have e-learning courses. If you're talking about working remotely or new sales training, we certainly can show you how to record a Zoom, and even that can be a very quick snippet of e-learning. But this is your content, not content that we bring to your party.
Perfect. Next question. You mentioned tracking training with Workday Learning. Is there a delivered report we will have access to as part of the QuickStart?
Yep, I will take this one. So absolutely, as part of our Learning QuickStart, what we will turn on is the Workday delivered reports for the learning transcript. This is captured on the Workday profile of the learner. So this is not only a way that learning admin can go ahead and view where the learner is on their training, what they've completed, what's in progress, or possibly what they haven't started to this point, but it's also a way that the learner logged into Workday Learning or logged into Workday can go to their learning profile on their career tab, and they can actually see specifically where they are on that training, what they've completed, or what they have just remaining in progress. So absolutely, that does come as part of the Learning QuickStart.
Perfect. The last question that I have is, do we have to sign an AMS contract to get the Learning QuickStart?
No, I'll take that one. It is not required to be an Intecrowd AMS customer. In fact, part of what Kristin described is making you self-sufficient. So she did present a slide that says additional support. We do that as an offer so that if customers want additional support, they know that they can get it in bite-sized chunks rather than just a huge monolithic offering. But the reason we offer that is if people need advice or they want to learn a little bit more, but you do not need an AMS contract. In fact, we have one customer that we're working with now that has asked Kristin to essentially do a ride along. So rather than Kristin actually pressing the keys and setting up Workday Learning for them, they're going to be doing it on a Zoom with Kristin, and she's going to teach their learning admin how to do all of it. So it's a great way for the knowledge transfer to set in early on. So that's kind of the offering there. And the real idea is that we make you self-sufficient And we deliver value. We are a business, but we feel like by delivering value, we're more successful. So there's no need to be chained to us, although we do certainly hope you'll recognize our value.
Perfect. All right, that's all the questions that we have. If you do have any questions, you are more than welcome to reach out to Kristin or Gary or Mike Chrisman. Their emails are there. We will be sending this presentation out to all those that are in attendance. We will also have the recording on our website shortly after this. So we're grateful for everybody that has joined us today. Gary, I'm going to turn it over to you for some closing comments.
Okay, great. So Perry, I will say one closing comment is Kristin's email is Prokopakis. Spell it like it sounds, but for those of you who can't spell it like it sounds, I'll say Prokopakis. And you can reach out directly to her if you have a question. If you don't feel like you want to be sold to, or you're not ready to do anything but do some more discovery, feel free to reach out to Kristin and ask her questions. We appreciate your time and your attention today. And then that is it. Hopefully you got some value out of it. And if you have some questions, feel free to ask them. We're happy to help.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day.